Good evening and welcome to the January 13th, 2014 meeting of the Edina School Board. We do have a quorum this evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is welcome our new members, Lisa O'Brien and David Goldstein. Welcome both. Thank you. First item is the approval of minutes. We had a special meeting on December 16th and a regular meeting also on December 16th. Had a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any items in either of those minutes that require adjustment or edits? Any additional items? Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes as written, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tonight's our plan. Any hearing from members of the audience? Any election of the board chair. At this time, the floor is open for nominations for board chair.
I nominate Randy Meyer as board chair.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to nominate Randy Meyer for chair. Any additional nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor of closing nominations for chair, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have one nomination for chair. All those in favor of approving Randy Meyer for chair, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for the privilege to serve. Next up, we have our annual election of officers. We are now open for nominations.
I'd like to move that Cathy Cella serve as vice chair.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. We'll do the whole slate. Additional nominations?
Would nominate Leny Wallen-Friedman to be treasurer and Sarah Patzloff to be assistant treasurer, Regina Neville to be clerk, and David Goldstein and Lisa O'Brien to be assistant clerks.
Sounds like a full slate. Any additional nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor of closing the slate of officers, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The slate has been approved. All those in favor of approving the slate as provided, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations all. Thank you for your willingness to serve. We're now on to our consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
I see there was a typo in letter
Or will,
N.
so moved. So moved, sorry.
It's been moved. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second, we have the consent agenda as presented. Rick, can you please walk us through?
I will. We have, again, just a lot of organizational items for the board to approve tonight. One is just reaffirm the policies, the school board compensation, which is $2,400 per year, the designation of depositories, our general checking account, the petty cash checking account for our Edina Kids Club, which is run through community education, the authority to make electronic fund transfers, the authority to pay claims prior to board approval, the responsibility of the authority and designation of data privacy compliance. This again is required by the state. Our credit cards that we'll be using, appointment of legal counsel, and then our district architect that is only through I believe it's through August 30th. The official newspaper, which is the Edina Sun Current, personnel recommendations that we've got slated, as well as community education, and then some expenditures payable for 2013. Again, these are no major changes have taken place in any of those consent agenda items, all part of the organizational process.
Thank you, Rick. Any items anybody like removed from the consent agenda? Any corrections to the consent agenda?
Letter N, the Community Education Services personnel recommendations. There's a interesting salary written on there, about $36,550 per hour. That might be a typo in some way.
It does say that. It might have intended to be,
I'm not sure what it was supposed to be, but
a decimal point.
It's an annual, yeah. We'll accept that as a friendly amendment, assuming that's an annual salary.
Annual, yes.
Any additional discussion regarding the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda with the one minor amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Action items. First item, this is the purchase of cellular phone service. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for the purchases of cellular phone service. This is a 2-year contract from Sprint starting July 2014. Any discussion or background?
Good evening, Board. We are required for E-rate purposes to go out for requests for quotes every few years, and so this is, we're doing it again this year. We did it last year. This one's for a 2-year quote. We asked for quotes from AT&T, Sprint, and Verizon, and we received quotes back from them. Sprint is our current vendor, and they actually came in cheaper than what it was, so we'll be saving roughly $300 a month on our cellular service. They also have provided quite a bit of infrastructure in our buildings to amplify the cellular coverage. And so at this time, it looks like a better deal than we were getting, cheaper than the other vendors, and a significant amount of technology as well.
Any discussion, questions?
So are we finding that people are happy with that, the current service?
Yes, I think cells are companies that some people like and some people have personal preferences and things like that, but generally speaking, Tess Stavlo out of our department offers very good service for that, and it's a technology that allows a lot of choice for our administration for types of phones that they can use, and the coverage is fairly well. They're also helping us pilot wireless on buses, and so we're actively engaged with them, putting a wireless hotspot on one of our buses as well. So they seem to be a pretty good partner and good customer service.
Steve, is the number of devices holding pretty constant, or are we seeing fluctuations?
I would say that the number of devices is holding constant. What is changing, though, is we're going from just the regular flip phones to smartphones. And so just like everyone else, what we're seeing is a change from just having a phone to a phone that's an internet-enabled device. And so we are seeing more of those types of devices being used in the organization.
And even with that additional data coverage, we're still coming out ahead, or is it just comparing like plans to like plans?
It's like plans to like plans. So we're not seeing, in the last year, we're not seeing a large increase of smartphones. And so if you took our current cell phone fleet, and looked at the current pricing and then next year's pricing, it's $300 less with the exact same makes and models. If we transfer more phones from the flip phone model to the smartphone, we do incur the additional data charge costs as well if we switch. But we would be paying more if we went to AT&T or Verizon as well. So all things being equal, it's $300 less a month for our current phones.
Yep, great. Additional discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we have purchase of local and long-distance telephone service. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Steve, a little additional background on this one?
Again, this, our telephone long distance and our telephone connections, which are, we call them PRIs, which are a bundle of telephone lines, and then as well as analog lines that we have in all the buildings are E-ratable. So again, we need to go out periodically to get quotes to see if we're getting the best value for the district. We did receive 3 quotes. One came in after the deadline. Comcast and Integra were the 2 that came in. And the cost of Integra, which is our current vendor, is again cheaper. We'll be saving. And in addition to that, they reduced the price of the PRI lines, which are the bundled telephone lines, by about $300 a month. So again, the analog telephone lines are the cheapest I could find anywhere else at about $17.99 a line. And then we are saving about $323 a month on our PRI. So that's, again, another pretty good savings. And long distance is practically, the telephone industry is saying the race to zero. And so long distance charges continue to drop substantially for calls, which we don't make a lot of.
Any discussion, questions? Good work. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion? Board committee appointments, liaisons, and representatives. Typically, we approve these at the next board meeting. Cathy has offered to coordinate and has been in touch with some of you already at this point. And any discussions or questions?
We're going to ask the board that served for 2013 on the Finance and Facility Committee to stay in place for Thursday's meeting,
Okay,
because we do have a Thursday meeting that we want to move our timelines along, so that would be Leny and Lisa and Cathy. Who would?
Sarah.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry. Sarah, Leny, and Cathy. Try that again. And that would serve at that one additional meeting, and then we'd have the switch over.
great. Are there any committee appointments that we did last year that will not be happening this year, or changes we've made in committee structure? Or things we should be thinking about?
Wasn't there one that we thought might be changing, the Edina Chemical Health Partners?
That one is in flux.
Yep, that's still in place at this point, but
Okay.
chance could be evolving.
And we will keep the people on the school sites through the end of the school year, since it's more disruptive to the individual sites if we switch board members over in January. So those appointments won't change except for the sites that lost. I think Highlands had Lonnie and Southview had Brian, so we will fill in for those schools, but other than that, those will stay till the end of the school year.
Same with Valley View. Lonnie was on Valley View.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Thank you.
As long as we have no overlap with board members taking assignments at schools where they have students.
And I'll be sitting down and making sure that doesn't happen.
And then the only other concern I had brought forward in regard to current assignments was committees and school meeting times conflicting, which is currently happening for me with Creek Valley, with my current assignments, unless they would change. Just community ed, CESB, or finance and facilities often conflicts with when, inevitably it conflicts with when Creek Valley's site council meets.
And as part of trying to work that all out before the next meeting, we'll be sending out hopefully a spreadsheet, if I can figure out how to make it work, that everybody can put in what the times are of the meetings that you're already on, so people can see that, so that we can not schedule people to be representative to two things that we know are going to meet at the same time, but then it also helps people know which ones they should be on. If it's at, already at times they know they can't make, it's not a good one to volunteer to be on.
Oh, Sarah, send me right there. Yeah, Sarah will send you something, so you can start with.
Yeah, we could just look off this document that you
Yeah.
put together and add in a timeline.
Additional questions? Comments? Parents meeting, TAT. Is TAT staying in its current form?
It's going through a strategic planning process. So our technology department and our special education department are both going through some strategic planning. So a good chance is that TAT may take a different look, but at this point, it's in place. Would that be correct?
That's correct.
Great. Any other questions, comments? District legislative plan?
Annually, the district does have some legislative priorities. This was a walked-in item for the board tonight. The priorities look very similar. Again, it's around funding. It's around support for schools in the state of Minnesota. It's our district legislative platform. The second is allowing us to be as independent as possible while still being accountable. And so sometimes it's challenging when there are 300 school districts in the state to have some of this legislation being brought forward and losing some of our independence. The third one relates to high-quality educational workforce, and this gets back to continuing with QComp and some of the work around our teacher evaluation program that is being moved forward. The fourth one relates to embracing educational partnerships, including the innovation zone. This, again, allows school districts that are able to find a partner with their neighbors to possibly get freed from some of the mandates at the state level. And the final one is just really helping the state support the state's drive for a statewide vision of education going forward. So these are our priorities. They align well with the Association of Metropolitan School Districts as well as Minnesota School Board Association, and would go for formal action at the January board meeting.
And within category 2, is one aspect of that and I'll use the word seat time. So when we get at the high school, there's a certain number of hours you have to sit in your seat. And I think we're seeing that the high school has a different way at times of providing education.
That's
So
correct.
I'm hoping that within 2, we can kind of push the legislature to give us options about how we count the hours our kids are in school.
That's right. Time has got to be a variable.
Additional questions, comments, thoughts? Seeing none, informational items, announcements?
Just make a brief announcement that we did start the 2014 calendar year a couple days late due to cold weather. One set up by the governor and the other by the district. Again, our decisions based on student safety and also reflected what other districts in our region were doing. These days are not being planned to be made up by the students or staff. It's also something that's not a regular practice in this district. I think it's been over 50 years since we've had 2 consecutive days, and we're expecting a mild winter the rest of the way, so we're in great shape. But I just wanted to make that formally so that the public is aware of that.
Any additional items? Questions, comments, announcements? Seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded to adjourn our meeting. Any objection to adjourning at this time? Seeing none, we are adjourned.